ものです。
え、本当にアゲートちゃん？
そうです。アゲートちゃんは熱心なファンの皆さんの心に住んでいます。
まさか俺もついにその域に。
これからもお布施に励むのですよ。
俺の心のアゲートちゃん、なんか植物的だな。
いつまでも走りながらじゃ息が持ちません。ここらで一休みしませんか？
It's raining today. So, you know what? When it's gloomy, you need a good anime to raise your spirits. And, you know, if you've been hanging out with me every week as we watch, we'll go with Ningen Fushin. Ningen Fushin. As we watch this every single week. I said that because the name is ridiculously long. I'm not going to say, like, I would run out of breath. So, I have been struggling with this anime, like, drop it. Like, drop it or don't drop it. That's basically the thing that I've been struggling with each week, is because it's just really disappointed me quite a bit. Now, this episode kind of brought me back, like, a little bit, but then it lost me. So here's where my thoughts are with that. The beginning of the episode, it starts off with Nick. He's running, right? He's running. And we have Agate, the blue hair girl, and she's running behind him, and, you know, she's making him think that he's losing his mind and that she's his inner thought, and then she gaslights him to spend more money on idol stuff. And I was laughing. I was having a great time. And I was like, this is what I watched the anime for. Is this, like, this ridiculous, serious, but yet very, like, this humor. Like, this humor, they nailed it, but then they lose me immediately, and I get disappointed. But if I could sum up, like, why do I watch this anime, or why did I kind of, like, instantly really fall for this anime, it was that type of humor, to where it's like Nick's running, and she's pretending to be his, you know, pretending to be his inner monologue. And then she was like, you should spend more money on idol stuff. You should go to more concerts. Like, she's gaslighting him, and he's like, oh, maybe I should. Is that what I'm working towards? And I was like, that's funny. Like, that's funny. Like, that's actually legitly funny. Then the episode decides to take a left turn, and we get Agate's backstory. Now, here's where, before I really start talking about it, here's the thing, right? Is we get Agate's backstory, which is fine. But then we get Donnie's backstory. So we get a backstory that has a character in the backstory, and we get the character's backstory of a back. It's like, is this backstory inception here? Backception? Like, we get a backstory within a backstory. I was like, okay, I'm losing. And I don't care about this Donnie dude. Now, the one thing I will say is that they finessed us very well. And the thing that I thought that they did do very, very good was that although we got the backstory stuff, what they did do was they tied it all the way back into the casino section, and we find out that the blue hair girl, maybe you noticed this, maybe you have that sharp eye, maybe you got the eye of the demon. Maybe you put two and two together. I didn't realize that Agate was actually the blue hair girl that Tiana was totally just, like, lighting up in the gambling table as just being a moneybags person during the last week's episode. I didn't realize that. And this week I was like, oh, shit, that was her. You know what I mean? And it all came together all of a sudden. I was like, oh, that is a really smart way. And then they tied in this Donnie dude to that scene as well. It's like, oh, he was the dude at the table. So although you might have registered it lickety split, I didn't really register. So for me, I was like, oh, that's a really cool thing that they told us this side story. And then the side story led us down a path to bring us back to last week's episode with, like, the casino stuff. And I was like, that's a cool way to do it. So those are the two highlights of this episode. Is A, we got a really funny opening scene to kind of really grab us, you know, or recapture us. Me personally, it recaptured me. And then during the backstory, the, you know, so-so backstory, we then had a tie-in to last week's episode. Now, here's one last good thing I will say as well. Is Agate comes back, Nick's at the Idol concert, and he sees her, and she's talking about the goddess that she saw. And the goddess ended up being Tiana and Nick merged together, you know, where they do their Animorph shenanigans or whatever. And I like Nick's reaction because she's talking about, oh, I met a goddess. And he's like, what? And then she explains, her situation. He's like, what? He's like, Tiana's the goddess? That loaf of useless bread, So I thought that was a pretty fun thing as well. Now, that's those are the 3 or 4 main highlights of the episode. You might be like, oh, well, that sounds great, Dom. What do you have to complain about? Well, the rest of it was kind of boring. So we got to see her experience. We got to see how 𝐜𝐴GATE became a idol. We got to see how she was discovered by this dude named Joseph. We got to see that she was working with this dude named Donnie. For some reason, she got bamboozled and swindled by this dude. This dude was a club owner or like a restaurant owner or something. Basically, he had really failed dreams, and he kept roping her in. He ended up having a really bad gambling addiction, gambling problem, due in part to the tiger guy before so they tied that into. And her story was okay. I just did not care about this Donnie guy whatsoever. Like, I'm cool with him being existent and her, giving him money and stuff. Like, and I understand his purpose. I understand the story was decently written. It's just execution wise, like, it was a little bit boring. It's just a little bit boring. You know what I mean? It wasn't bad on paper. I imagine if I was reading it, I would be more interested in reading than I would watching, because in watching I was just like, like yawn, like come on, let's wrap this up already. So I don't know. That was my main thing. It's just the Donnie stuff was a little bit boring to me. I think if they're really trying to introduce 𝐜𝐴GATE as a frequent character, I understand the necessity. But we're 7 episodes in, and if she doesn't really appear more, outside of just being Nick's conscious every now and then. If she doesn't appear more, it's like, well, we wasted a whole episode on this this NPC, basically. So it's like, well, let's see on where we go here before I really pass judgment. Overall, though, I would say 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10 episode. Not bad. Not bad. Just a little boring, but it had those 3 or 4 really good highlights to the episode. That initial laughter, though, that's why I watched it. That initial opening, that's why I watched the anime. So they need more of that. And they've gotten too far away from that, and that's the concerning part. But let me know what you guys thought. That's just my lowly anime otaku opinion over here. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Let me know if I'm completely off base. Let me know if you're loving it. Let me know if you're not even watching anymore and you're just here to say what's up, Dom. And in that case, wish you the best luck this week. But let me know what you guys thought, and I'll see you guys next week. Yeah, I'll see you next week. All right, peace out.